Hello everybody, this is General Yanis, and today in Death Card Tactics I will be looking at the Daemon Prince and the updated stats, and I will be looking at his weapons and what options he has and what configurations could be the best to use. So let's get started. So today, the 10th of February, bad news for my Codex. It seems that the package was probably not sent, or it was returned and now they were sending it again. So now it will start its journey, 2 weeks delayed maybe, and hopefully I hope it will arrive before the 10th edition, but I don't have any high hopes anymore to get the Codex. So, focusing on something else, reviewing of the Daemon Prince, of course, a very popular, especially in the beginning of the 9th and end of 8th, a very popular fast unit and hard-hitting unit as an HQ character for the Death Guard army. Previously, also with very good synergies with demons, but that seems to be more and more closed down, and Death Guard becomes more and more a mono army. So I will be reviewing the base stats, the weapon options, and comparing the weapon options, and if we can select a winner here. Then I'm looking at relics, traits, and synergies for the Death Guard, what battlefield roles he can be selected to do, and then I'm comparing finally the damage and the durability with other Death Guard units. So let's take a look. So looking at the baseline stats for the Daemon Prince, here we have his data sheet. A Daemon Prince without wings can cost from 140 to 155 points depending on weapon options. He has a movement 8, good weapon skill and ballistic skill, strength 7, only toughness 6, let's say, 8 wounds, 6 attacks, which was quite improved from 4 attacks previously, 10 leadership, 3+ save, the demonic inval save of 5+, of course, always helpful. And he has the disgusting resilience ability. He has the contagions. He's a Lord of the Death Guard, which gives a 6-inch reroll once to hit aura for Death Guard core units, like all the other Lords of the Death Guard, basically. And if he takes the wing, it's 75 points more. But now the additional movement will only be, let's say his movement will only come up to 10 inch. Previously it was 12 inches. So for the same point cost of the winds, now he's not as fast as he was before. But then of course he can also fly. And looking at the keywords, he's a monster, a character, a psyker, a demon. He has the bubonic Astartes. He's of course the Lord of the Death Guard. He can take a plague company. He can be part of a plague company, let's say. Chaos Nurgle, Heretic Astartes, and of course the Death Guard keywords. And on top of this, he's as said, he's a psyker. He knows one psychic power from the contagion discipline, and he can cast one spell and deny one spell per turn. So now the important changes, he has 6 attacks. His wings only give plus 2-inch movement for 35 points more. He's fast compared to other Death Guard characters, and he's strong, and he has the psychic abilities. The toughness 6 can of course be an issue for durability, but it can be improved by warlord traits and relics. The Lord of the Death Guard is not really helpful because with this infernal jealousy thing that we have, we can only have one per detachment with the Lord of the Death Guard keyword. So unfortunately, the Daemon Prince competes with the other lords for the same spots as our HQ choice. For example, Chaos Lord or Lord of Contagion, Lord of Virulence, Typhus, or yeah, those. So it's you cannot have, for example, a Lord of Contagion and a Daemon Prince in the same detachment. His rerolls previously also affected the demons, Nurgle demons, but now this has been lost. It's only Death Guard core units. So again, everything is pushing Death Guard more towards a monolith, not having allied detachments. Looking at the weapon options, the Daemon Prince standard cost is 140 points. The wings, as I said, cost 35 more. And then he's always, the standard configuration is a Malefic Talon and a Hellforged Sword, but he can replace the sword with having 2 Malefic Talons. But the Malefic Talons are a melee weapon, and they have the strength of the user, so basically strength 7. The AP has been decreased to -1. Previously it was -2, and 2 damage. And previously, with if he had 2 talons, he could do 3 attacks more, but now this rule seems to be not there. and the talon says that you get +1 attack with a talon. So I don't know if you have 2 talons, if you get only 1 attack extra, or if you will get two extra. In this calculation, in the comparison I will show you, I've assumed you can have 2 attacks extra, but I'm not sure this is the case. The Helforged Sword for 10 points has the strength +1, AP -3 and damage 3, which is really good. So it comes to a strength 8. So this is really helpful. I mean, wounding basically everything on a 3+ or 4+, together with a -1 toughness contagion, you would be wounding on 3+s even for the toughest, the toughness 8 opponents. The Demonic Axe is +10 points, the same cost as the Helforged Sword. So the only difference is that this has a strength +2, so it comes as strength 9, AP -2, so a bit lower AP, and damage 3. So those are his melee options, and he can add on top with a lot of restrictions a Plague Spewer for 5 points, which is a heavy D6 range 12 auto hit flamer, a Plague Flamer weapon. So unfortunately, one of his problems is that he doesn't have any plague weapons in melee, and only one configuration allows him to take the Spewer. So basically here are all the valid configurations for the Demon Prince. The Demon Prince with a Helforged Sword and the Malefic Talon is 150 points, Demonic Axe and Malefic Talon, or 2 Malefic Talons, which would be the cheapest one for 140 points. Then he can only add the Plague Spewer if he has the sword and doesn't have wings. So basically he can have the Helforged Sword, add the Plague Spewer for 155 points, and then all these 3 configurations we can add the wings on top, but we cannot have the Plague Spewer and the wings together. So let's look at how these weapons compare, the sword, the axe, and if we have 2 Malefic Talons. So comparing these 3 melee options, here we have his -1 toughness aura in effect in melee with against the unit he's fighting with, and we can see here the sword is the blue line, and the orange is the axe, and the gray are the dual talons. And we can see that the Helforged Sword is always better or equal with the axe. So here the blue and the orange line go together. Here, of course, against targets with good inval saves, the AP difference for the sword doesn't make a difference, but here for these targets, the AP -3 for the sword makes it better than the AP -2 for the axe. And the axe doesn't benefit so much from the strength because the sword already has sufficient strength 8, and even against a gladiator or a big tank with toughness 8, this toughness will be toughness 7, and the strength 8 of the sword is sufficient. So then it's better to go for the high AP. So the sword it's quite a straightforward answer here. The sword will always be better or equal to the axe, so no point in taking the axe. And the dual talons no longer give you any significant boost to the attacks. In the base configuration, you can do 6 attacks with a sword, and then you have 1 attack with a talon. Here you have 8 attacks with a talon, but it's not enough. So it's much less against or nearly all targets. Maybe only something like Orc Boys or Cultist, but I don't think you would be struggling with the Demon Prince against those. So my Demon Prince, by the way, has the 2 talons, of course, from the previous configuration, but now I need to find a sword to magnetize and kit bash on the Demon Prince. So comparing all the configuration, the base damage per 100 points, averaged across all the targets in the previous graph, all the 31 targets there. We can see here all the configuration in melee. As I showed you the comparison between the sword, the axe, and the talons, the sword comes out the winner. If we add the wings, basically we don't add damage, we just dilute the damage to more point costs. And if we add the Spewer, we get a little bit lower melee damage because basically we added 5 points that don't give melee, but we get a little bit of short range damage with the Spewer. But it's because he's a monster, he can also shoot the Plague Spewer in point blank, I believe. So this could be interesting because he can do the melee plus the point blank. And here, just a quick comparison with other lords, HQ lords. The Demon Prince is one of the most hard-hitting, basically the most hard-hitting. So here you see the Demon Prince with a Helbrute sword. Hunter is 4.7 in melee here. With wings, he's only 3.5. And here we have the best other option is the Lord of Contagion with a Plague Reaper. He's below the Demon Prince with a Helbrute sword. Typhus is also lower. A Lord of Violence with a Plague Claw is not as good in melee as the other options, but of course he has some shooting. And then the best alternative here would be the Lord of Contagion. If we add the relic, the Reaper of the Glorious Entropy gives him much more damage, but the Demon Prince, I will come back to that later, can also buff this damage quite considerably. So basically the most hard-hitting HQ Lord that we have per point. So if we need to further increase the damage of the Demon Prince, there are, of course, Demon Prince can take some Warlord traits or some relics and some stratagems, etc. The Warlord traits that could be quite interesting to add more damage is the Foul Effluence Warlord trait that gives mortal wounds to enemies close to the Warlord. So if the Demon Prince engages in close combat, then he would be giving at the end of death card movement some mortal wounds, chance for some mortal wounds. The Shamble Rod from the Harbingers also gives mortal wounds. And then Inexorable Ferric Blight could be that when the enemies come into his contagion range, he can improve his AP, but he doesn't gain so much by the for his sword. He would be gaining a little bit from his spear if he has one. The relics, he can take the Plague Skull of Glothila, which is once per battle. He can dish out mortal wounds, but this is quite generic. It could help any other character. The Suppurating Plate basically is more for durability, but if the Suppurating Plate is not as good as before, because before you could, if you saved, you could bounce back a mortal wound to the enemy, but now it's only if the enemy unit bypasses your armor and the bearer loses wounds, then at the end of the fight phase you can give one mortal wound. So it's really not so good to give wounds, but okay, it could improve the durability. And then one really good relic for the Demon Prince is from Mortarion's Admiral Plague Company, the Warp Insect Hive. The bearer the Demon Prince in melee can reroll all hit rolls and wound rolls. So in this case, he would be hitting on 2s, most probably rerolling the 1s, and then he would be wounding at least on 3 pluses, and then rerolling 1s and 2s. So that would be like really interesting. Like having an Arch Contaminator before. Now we, of course, a character does not benefit from Arch Contaminator. So this is rerolling once and rerolling everything in wounds. So he will be, it will be a lot of nice rerolls for this hard-hitting target. The Psychic Powers, of course, you can take some Psychic Powers with him to increase the damage. The Curse of the Leper is really a good one. The closest enemy within 18 inches, if you succeed with a Warp charge of 6, I believe, you roll 7 dice, and every dice above the opponent's toughness gives a mortal wound to the toughness. And this is great together with a -1 toughness contagion. So if you take a unit of toughness 4, Space Marines or Space Marine Terminators, for example, then within the -1 toughness contagion, their toughness becomes 3. And then with the Curse of the Leper, you will be making mortal wounds on a 4+ with 7 dice. So you should be able to do, let's say, 3.5 mortal wounds by this. Plague Wind could also be interesting. He of course has the smite. The Plague Wind could be interesting against only hordes, so the Curse of the Leper is better. And then some of the stratagems that can be used on characters, release the toxins for a character with relic to do mortal wounds when the opponents are close by. The diseased effluence could be interesting against some very strong opponent because it gives the Demon Prince a mortal wound, and then you roll a d6, and then the enemy on a 2+ suffers 2d3 mortal wounds. And then Plague Brewers could be used if Mortarion Sun to increase the Plague Spewer damage. The Cyclic Corrosion can help, let's say, yeah, no, it's not, yeah, if another enemy unit, maybe with a Plague Spewer, he can corrode the unit, and then later on he can reroll the ones with his melee weapons. And Befouled Incubators, this could be good against, yeah, in close combat when he's fighting some infantry. Each time an enemy model is destroyed, you roll a d6, and then you can give one mortal wound additionally on the unit. So if you need to fight a horde with a Demon Prince, you can add this, and you could add maybe a couple of mortal wounds more to the damage. And then if we look at ways to increase his durability, there are some very interesting warlord traits. Revolting Resilience, of course, is very good, giving a 5+ feel no pain, like our previous Discussing Resilience, the real Discussing Resilience, let's say. Hulking Physique could be interesting. +1 wound for the warlord, taking the Demon Prince up to 9, and then unmodified wound rolls of 1 and 3 always fail against this model, which can be quite nice against very hard-hitting weapons like Meltas and so on for the character. The Rotten Constitution is also interesting, gives +1 toughness for the warlord. The Demon Prince would then have a toughness 7, and then attacks with AP -1 and AP -2 are treated as AP 0. And this can be quite nice for the Demon Prince if he's facing a lot of light weapon fire. He would be able to save them better, and in combination with a suppurating plate, you would have most of the light fire weapons would be treated at AP 0, and then 2+ save with a suppurating plate. That would be quite durable for light fire. And then in Mortarion's Anvil, the Gloaming Bloat, always interesting that enemy units within the contagion range cannot overwatch, set to defend, or reroll hit and wound rolls. It's good for a Demon Prince wanting to charge a unit, preventing them from overwatching, and then they cannot reroll when they are shooting him if he's close by. So this can be quite interesting. And of course, the suppurating plate, as I said, gives the Demon Prince a 2+ armor save. The mortal wounds don't benefit so much anymore. And then psychic powers, of course, as always, Miasma of Pestilence, if you want to increase the durability, -1 to be hit, or -1 to be hit on a unit accompanying him. And then those are harder to take out so that the enemy can shoot on the Demon Prince. So with all this analyzed, for me, what type of battlefield role could he have, and should we take him, or if we want to take him, what should he do? I think two battlefield uses come to my mind. So if we take a Demon Prince without the wings, he has an 8-inch movement, and I think in that configuration he could be good to follow some fast foot squads upfield. For example, Possessed that have a 7-inch move, they could potentially get one more from Noxious Blightbringer. Then the group would be moving at 8 inches, not Noxious, but and then having a melee strike force of Possessed and Demon Prince foot slogging up, but quite fast. So the Demon Prince benefits from his higher movement of 8. Chaos Spawn, he could also follow some Chaos Spawn with a 7-inch move. The melee Plague Marines are not so optimal because they can only go up 5 inches together. Yeah, it will be a bit slower. Maybe it could be a little bit buff Noxious. The core squads like Possessed and Plague Marines, they will be benefiting from the reroll ones to hit of the Demon Prince. And if the Demon Prince in this configuration would take some Warlord trait like Arch Contaminator to buff them. And the Plague Spewer, in this, we can add the Plague Spewer to him, so he adds a little bit of shooting that, for example, a group of Possessed or the Demon Prince normally don't have. Then in another use, the Demon Prince with wings has a 10-inch move, and here the role that would fit him here, it would be a fast, in-your-face type of attack battle group with demon engines, where of course the 30 Bloatdrones with a mower that have a 10-inch move and are really good in melee. This would be a group of Bloatdrones with a mower together with a Demon Prince would present a very huge melee threat, a fast moving and quickly, I mean, advancing and then quickly engaging with the enemy and doing yeah, it will be one threat for a flank, for example, or the center. If you have some other threat on the other side or some long range shooting to back it up. The Myphitic Blighthauler also has a 10-inch move, but not as good in melee or not. Yeah, then it could also work, but I think in this case, yeah, the Demon Prince doesn't add much if you don't want to slam into your opponents with melee. And here it will be a good synergy, I think. The demon engines are not core and will not benefit from the reroll once aura, so nobody in this attack group, nobody will be benefiting from his reroll one aura. Maybe here we could consider the Ironclad Furnace from the Poxmongers to give one of the units a 4+ invul, but it's not as strong as it was before. And here the Warlord trait to either increase the Demon Prince's durability or, for example, the Warp Hive from Mortarion's Anvil, Warp Insect Hive, to maximize his damage in melee. So before I continue with the durability, let's look at the damage comparison against other characters and other units. So here is the average damage per 100 points across all the targets. Baseline, no additional buffs except for -1 toughness for melee. And here we can see that the Demon Prince with Hellforged Sword is not as good in melee per points as Death Shrouds or Chaos Spawn or Plague Marines melee or Possessed, or the 30 Bloatdrone with a mower, but he's quite high up, and he's, as I showed you previously, he's better than the Lord of Contagion or the other HQ characters in melee combat. So the most hard-hitting HQ character in melee per points, and then we could add the Spewer, taking this a little bit down, and then he has a little bit of shooting, but nothing super fancy. But he also can cast the Psychic Power to deal some damage on top of the melee. The damage can be increased significantly by 30-40% with a Warp Hive Warp Insect Hive from Mortarion's Anvil Relic. So here you can see if we use this buff, his damage becomes 6.5 average, so he will be in the 3rd place, very close to the Death Shroud Terminators. Here, in comparison, we can see if the Lord of Contagion takes the Glorious Entropy Relic, replacing his Plague Reaper, he also gets up in damage, but still, in the base configuration, the Demon Prince with a sword is the highest. Of course, when we add the wings, he becomes less damaging per point. So finally, let's look at Demon Prince's durability. So in this table, I'm looking at how many shots are needed to take a Demon Prince down or take him out, and this is not point corrected. So you would have, for example, 54 bolt rifle shots from intercessors in tactical phase, or you would need 6 Meltas at half range to take a Demon Prince down. So he's okay. He can take quite a lot of shots, especially light fire, but he's not like a demon engine or a plague burst crawler. But let's see what if we add different relics or traits, how this will improve. So here we are adding the separating plate. Here we add revolting resilience, hulking physique, rotten constitution, and here we are combining the rotten constitution again with the separating plate. So we can see that here is the, let's say, an average of how many light weapon shots he can take. It's not the best metric, but at least a way to say, okay, how vulnerable is he against light weapon fire? And here are more the heavy weapon fire. So he would be able to take 14 shots out of this group and 59 of the average of this group. But if we add the separating plate, the separating plate helps mostly here with the light weapons, but not with the high weapons, because basically, yeah, then you are really saving with your invul save. The revolting resilience, feel no pain, increases the total number of shots he can take for all weapons by an average of 50%. So you're saving, you're saving 33% of all the damage taking, so you can take 50% more shots. Is the inverse here. So this is very good overall, but of course we can take it if we have Mortarion in the list, which already has revolting resilience. the hulking physique that only allows him to be wounded on 4+, and gives him one more wound. Doesn't help very much in the small arms fire, because already here he was probably not being wounded on 3+, but it helps on the heavy weapons here, especially meltas and so on, that they will be wounding him on 3+, but now they are wounding him on a 4+, and he has one more wound. The Rotten Constitution is helpful, especially against this low AP target, so he can really save a lot. And but not so much on the, doesn't really help on the very with the weapons with high AP and high tough strength are not affected by Rotten Constitution. If we add the Super Rating Plate, we make him almost immune to light weapons fire with AP 0, 1, and 2. He's saving on 2+. There will be very little wounds coming through. So here we can see that here I try to give the effect of adding the, for example, Revolting Resilience adds 50% here. The Rotten Constitution adds 64% for the light weapon durability, and the Rotten Constitution plus Super Rating Plate adds 220%. So it's really, really good against the light. And yeah, so it can be quite significantly buffed. So if we compare his durability to other HQ lords and some infantry, just for comparison, here I'm correcting the number of shots per 100 points. So here is the average per 100 points to kill a baseline Demon Prince. And of course, if we add the wings, the durability per point goes down. It's the same number of shots to be killed, but we have paid more to put those wounds on the table, so the durability goes down by 20%. If the most durable character is the Lord of Contagion or Lord of Violence, because they have a 4+ invul save and they only cost 120 points. So per point, they are offering 25-30% more durability than a Demon Prince. Typhus offers less durability than a Demon Prince in base configuration, but not with wings. A Typhus is more durable than a Demon Prince with wings. And then the Chaos Lord, because he's so cheap and also has a 4+ invul save, he's more durable than the Demon Prince. And then if we compare to our infantry, the Blightdrone Terminators is our most durable unit, and Plague Marines are also quite durable. And we can see basically those are more durable than our characters. But of course, our characters can be protected by being close to infantry and other vehicles from the Lookout Sir rule, so they will not be so oftenly being shot at if the screen is working. But of course, a Demon Prince engaging in melee, then he will be subject and coming very close to the enemy, then he will be able to be fired upon, so we need to think about his durability. Finally, just a short comparison with vehicles. Now, before it was a comparison to characters and a bit of infantry. So here is the list the comparison I've showed you before with vehicles, where we say the Chaos Predator taking heavy weapon shots can take, let's say, an index of 100% amount of shots. And here we see the Plague Burst Crawler can take 2.5 times more than that. We can see the Demon Prince in base configuration per 100 points is a bit better than a Predator, a tank, but not so good as any of the other vehicles. But if we add, for example, Revolting Resilience, then his durability is close to a Contemptor, and he's quite close to some of the Demon engines, the 30 Bloatdrone, etc. Of course, Revolting Resilience cannot be taken if Mortarion is on the list, but we say here the hulking physique only allowing to be wounded on 4+ could be interesting against heavy weapon or high strength weapons. So reaching to the summary and conclusion and the final thoughts here. The Demon Prince is still a fast and hard-hitting HQ choice for the Death Guard army. The melee weapon selection is very straightforward. Basically, the sword is the best configuration. It's the best option. So find the sword for your Demon Prince. The only things you need to select or choose is leave it as it is with the sword and the talon for 150 points, add the spear, then going up to 155 points, or add wings for 185 points. And this is, of course, depending on what you want to use him for. And as I said, I see two battlefield roles come to my mind. He could foot slog along with faster melee infantry. Then you should take the cheapest configuration without wings, and you can consider adding the spewer. If you want him to go along slower infantry, I think again maybe there's no point to take the Demon Prince. Then it's probably better to take a Chaos Lord or a Lord of Contagion. The Lord of Contagion then can follow the foot squad, the slower infantry, and yeah, there is no point to use the faster and more expensive Demon Prince if you are not utilizing his speed. And then in the battlefield role number 2, then he would be leading a fast attack in your face kind of melee group. Here 13 Bloatdrones with mower would be really interesting. And here in this role he would need the wings, and then he's moving along with 10-inch base speed together with the Bloatdrones, dealing a lot of wanting to engage the enemy and deal a lot of damage up close and personal. For other roles, like he is not so good with together with Terminators, I would prefer then to, he doesn't have the deep striking ability, so for Terminators it's better to leave it to Lord of Contagion or Lord of Virulence or Typhus, or if he's supposed to walk up along, if you want to foot slog the Terminators, again, better to leave it to a cheaper option. That's also very hard hitting. So his own damage is higher compared to the other HQ choices and can be greatly increased by the Warp Insect Hive relic. His durability is okay as far as other HQ are concerned, and can be significantly boosted with Warlord traits. For example, Revolting Resilience is good overall, or Rotten Constitution, more for light arms fire. And I have a request for you guys. I think that on the damage, it's quite easy to find a good metric to compare and have one figure. But help me find some easy metric, preferably only one or two numbers, one value, to make an easy comparison of durability across units that would be easy to present and would make sense for you. So for me, the durability is linked somehow to how many shots can I take before I'm killed. And then, but somehow it's a bit complicated to say which type of weapons to use, and can I just get one number and then make an index and compare what would make sense for you guys. So this concludes, so leave a comment if you have some idea here. So this concludes the video. What do you think about the Demon Prince? Will you be selecting him over the other Lords of Death card choices that we have? Will you be thinking to take the fast with the wings, or just the normal without the wings? If you like this video, please press like and subscribe to the channel, helping the channel grow and supporting my work. If you want to support even further, please feel free to visit my Patreon page, and special thanks, of course, as always, to all my patrons supporting my work effort here. With these words, General Yanis is signing out. Stay safe out there, and bye-bye.